Hello, entrepreneurs. Are you curious about creating passive income? And have you ever thought about writing a book? Well, if you are going to love today's conversation that I had. I'm Gail Bates, and welcome to Entrepreneurs Who Work From Home, which is a weekly interview series where I sit down with entrepreneurs from around the world just to talk about what it really takes to build a sustainable business from home. You know, we explore productivity, work-life balance, and practical strategies that actually work in real life. So if you're in the middle of growing your business and craving systems that feel supportive and learning from others, you're in the right place. So I want you to make sure you subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss an episode. I have quite a few coming up in 2026. Well, today's interview, I was joined by Krista Brea. She is a self-published author. She's an audiobook publisher and an SEO expert with over 15 years of digital marketing experience. And I think you're just going to love this content. You know, Krista has published multiple books that generate passive income, and she now teaches aspiring authors on how to turn their ideas into profitable books using her simple modern self-publishing strategies. You know, this is one of my most fascinating and genuinely beneficial interviews that I've had so far. So Krista is not only a business owner, she's also a mom. She works a full-time job as well, and she's raising a son with special needs. So in this interview, she shares how she carefully designs her business to fit around her life. And I really want you to pay attention to that, because as entrepreneurs, you know that's one of our biggest challenges. It's just a powerful reminder that growth doesn't have to come at the expense of what matters most. So that's a little gem there. Now, Krista also talks openly about investing in herself, including working with a book coach and how she leveraged her background as an SEO specialist to help others publish books that actually sell. And she breaks down how she identifies profitable niches for entrepreneurs, using her methodologies to steadily build that momentum and, of course, sustainability. But what stood out most to me was Krista's transparency. She generously shares the tools, the research methods, SEO insights. That's amazing, something I never even knew about. She also includes how to evaluate book categories and understand just what that data is really telling you before you ever hit publish. So if you've been quietly thinking about writing a book or wondering how a book could support and elevate your business, this interview was going to open your eyes to what's truly possible. I know you'll really enjoy it. Well, hey, Krista, welcome. Welcome to my series, Entrepreneurs Who Work From Home. I'm thrilled that you're here and really happy to learn more about your business. So tell us a little bit about how your daily life is as an entrepreneur.
First off, thank you so much for inviting me here. I will say that to be transparent, it can be pretty messy.
Yeah.
I'm actually still working full time, which I work from home, and I am working on my business stuff as well. So, there's that messy middle that a lot of entrepreneurs, as they're starting, they kind of have to have their feet on two different areas, working as well as if they have children. I have a child, so parenting on top of also working on my business and growing that. So until I can go full time all the way in.
I did not realize that you had a full-time job as well. That is really daunting, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there who want to start a business with a full-time job. And do you have any advice for them on that?
Yeah, I'd say, it's all about the baby steps. Start taking that initial step, start getting things put together,
Yeah.
and, have the goals that you're setting and start working toward those, because it's not something that is overnight. Like, I've been building what I'm building for a few years, and when you start to see the wins start to stack, you're looking to get to a level of achievement that you can make that transition. And that's where my goals are for this year.
Right, right. And so tell us a little bit about how you started your business and tell us a little bit more about what is your business?
Okay, excellent. So, for the last few years, I've been specifically just doing self-publishing. Now, self-publishing is where I publish books, I get them listed on Amazon, I set them up for success and let them sell. So, this is a passive income stream.
Mhm.
And the reason why I got started in this and is because, of course, I was working full time and I was just a new mom at the time. And when you realize how expensive kids are, and then you realize that living paycheck to paycheck isn't an option after kids, you're like, I need to learn some more skills. And what I ended up doing was actually investing in myself and getting a book coach and learning some of the strategy. But what I was actually able to do was leverage my current career. I've been an SEO specialist for over 15 years. So
Mhm.
I took that knowledge because in reality, Amazon is just a search engine. And I
Mhm.
applied my SEO research skills with how I can actually publish books that allow me to find niches that have untapped markets or less competition and positioning them to sell better. So I've been doing that. And honestly, that was like, I'm like, oh, I see where this is going. I look at the books now as an investment, right? They're a digital, not just a digital because you can get a paperback, but they're an asset. And as you stack these wins and you produce more, it's adding to your growth over time. I look at this like an investment account. If you're even putting in $100 a month in an investment account, but it's the long-term growth. So
Right.
that's what I'm doing as far as stacking the books. And
Yeah.
then I went to a business conference last year,
Yeah.
and somebody said, "Hey, I want to know how to do that, right? Why aren't you teaching this?" And so this has what opened the doors to this school community that I
Yeah.
started last year.
Yeah.
And that, the whole course creation is a whole different ball game of
Right.
trying to learn and teach and become that digital creator and coach and education provider. It's a whole new world.
Right.
So, when you start out with one business, it can actually transform into another business, or it can just expand like what mine is doing.
And I love it that you started a school group. I'm starting a school group too. I think it's one of the best new platforms around.
Mhm.
And how have you found that has really helped you with your business, having a school group?
Oh my goodness. So with this is like a whole new angle for me with the course creation. I thought, okay, I need to find a platform. I wasn't on any other platforms before. Like there's other ones like Circle or Kajabi or some other tools and systems that are out there. So here's how I actually found out about school communities because I'm in the author space and
Right.
everybody knows about the Hormozy book launch. So when you started learning about the Hormozy book launch and like the level of success that he had, then you
Mhm.
see that he's investing all this money into school and all the ads that came from school. That's what got me like, oh, what's this about? Because he's such a successful author and book launch and in business strategy. I'm like, well,
Right.
I need to get on that platform. Maybe that's where and so that's kind of how I stumbled upon school and was like, okay, now let me get in there. Let me start building this community. And so I
Yeah.
started building it last year and just had it as because before, I don't know how long you've been on school, but they had different models. So it was
Yeah.
either you could have a free group or you would have to have a paid group. You couldn't have a tiered group. Tiers are new.
Yeah.
So I had a free group for a while. I was getting members in the door. And now that they've opened the tiers, that's where, because I didn't want to have to create multiple accounts and manage multiple groups. Like I just thought with me working full time, doing my books, taking care of my child, it would have been too much. But
Right.
now I have a way to start monetizing on my school platform. And I'm seeing growth happening. I'm seeing members connect. And it's like you get those dopamine hits of people engaging and leveling up and asking you questions. And it's like, I can really see this as the vision.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really a great platform, and you explained that so well for other entrepreneurs who are thinking about that. So,
Yeah.
in the self-publishing world, and it's changing all the time, right? What do
Mhm.
you find of some of the tools or systems that you have to use, you have to know to keep in the game?
Okay. So for me, because there's a lot of self-published authors that are out there, and
Yeah.
people, they can learn the system and the process of how you put your manuscript together, you put your book online, but then they fall short on the marketing side. And this is really my differentiator because for me, if you want to have a book that is going to get visibility and get seen when you yourself do not have an audience, you have to use tools like the one that I prefer to use is called Publisher Rocket. And this
Mhm.
is almost like an SEO research tool, but specifically for Amazon KDP to look up books and how well other books in that topic are selling to help
Mhm.
you understand what different categories, because there's hundreds of different categories you can enter a book into. And you, as the book publisher, have the freedom of choice to choose what category that your book should go into based
Right.
on what your book is about. But some book categories, in order to become a bestseller in that category, you might have to sell 250 books a day versus other categories, you might only need to sell 12 books a day, right? And
Right.
so when you start to have this tool that is telling you data, then you can, before you even start writing something, you can
Yeah.
say, well, I see this one has more feasible opportunity since I don't have a 10,000 email list of people to push my book out to. So
Right.
these are some of the foundations with the tool. It's called Publisher Rocket.
Yeah.
For anybody who wants to get into like really digging into the research side, but it is very helpful to be able to identify these things up front.
Right. Right. Yeah. Very interesting. It's fascinating. And overall, a
Mhm.
book can help entrepreneurs so much, right? Talk a little bit about how a book can quietly work for your business, even when you're offline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Y- Yes, 100%. So with entrepreneurs, you maybe have something special, something valuable that you offer to the world. And this is a different strategy because we're not necessarily looking always at market demand when we're doing this upfront keyword search. Now, we might do some, but it might not be something that has huge masses of a certain following, right? So, for example, I have a member in the community of mine, and she specializes in funnels.
Right.
So we were looking that up, and there are some search demand for it, and there are other books that are out there that are selling, but it's harder to get in front of like a big audience that specifically wants funnels, but there are individual people that are looking to optimize their funnel who are already business owners. So
Right.
the idea is like, okay, now you want to create a book and you want to have the word funnel somewhat in your title or how you can solve like in your subtitle should say something that's like about optimizing that funnel to convert more leads. So you want something that's gripping about your business. You want that transformation story for that book
Right.
to like
Right.
grab somebody's attention. But the
Right.
difference there is that book, even if they don't know who you are, like if she were to go forward and publish this particular book that she has the idea on,
Yeah.
and somebody comes across that book, has no idea who she is as an author, but
Yeah.
is now getting that book because they have that problem.
Yeah.
Well, what that opens the door for is an opportunity for them to maybe become a high ticket client with her, right? Because if they're getting value out of a $15 book, and they're reading it and they're getting information from it. And that's another thing that I actually educate authors on doing is adding QR codes inside of their books.
Yeah.
So that way they
Yes.
can quickly connect to find
Right.
ways to work with you because
Right.
sometimes long URLs and having people type a URL in, that's just creating more resistance. And
Right.
so they're not necessarily going to do that. So if
Yeah.
we these are some of the things that I teach, like methodologies with how to get the most out of your book as you're
Right.
creating that manuscript. So you
Right.
have more of these opportunities to connect with people. And
Right.
having that book is very valuable because it can open the doors in so many ways. But in addition to that, it's also helping you elevate your authority, right? And let's
Yeah.
say if you're somebody who's newer in your business, as far as like me, like just creating this community. Now, let's say if I have a book that I want to publicize and even in the future, let's say I write a book in my career, like I'm an SEO expert. So let's say I were to write a book on SEO and my experience and my career over the years. How much better on a resume is that going to look if I go to apply for another job in the future and say, hey, I wrote a book on this topic? That's going to help me elevate. It's going to help my LinkedIn profile stand out more. There are many different benefits based on what your goals are and how just having a book can elevate your life, even if you have to go a traditional job route.
Yeah, it's all about credibility, isn't it?
Hmm.
Letting people know your expertise and exactly what it is you do. And I love, the way that you described that, how it can, somebody is reading the book, and I love the idea of putting those QR codes in there. I think that's excellent because people immediately want to go there. But you're reading the book, you go, oh, I can just click right in and find out who this person is and what they're offering right away.
Yeah.
So I think the advantages are fantastic. So, as a mom, as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, as a somebody who works for another company, tell me a little bit about the challenges you have as being an entrepreneur and what do you face?
I would say for me personally, a lot of it is about schedule and balance.
Yeah.
Because to be transparent, my 4-year-old, he's on the spectrum. So he has higher needs
Yeah.
than other kids. And
Okay.
so he has a pretty busy schedule as far as his therapies. So I often have to drop him off, get him to school, take my work meetings that I usually take, and then I usually, around 5 o'clock, I focus more on my business side and, have my husband help out with my son in the evenings. And he usually like takes him to go do something fun, like a
Right.
play area or something, just
Right.
so I can balance everything. And, I try to have about 2 to 3 hours on my business stuff per day in the evening. I don't keep it too late. So,
Right.
usually like a 5 to 7 or a 5 to 8 kind of
Yeah.
schedule so that I can still balance some time, the bath time routine and bedtime routine with my
Right.
little
Right.
one, and then
Yeah.
you get up and do the grind again. And of course, weekends, like I fit more of the business stuff into the weekend time frame.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. You're amazing fitting all
Thank
of
you.
that in. And yeah, is there any specific tools? Like, do you have any tech tools you use to help you with all the scheduling, or do you time block, or is there any other ways?
Okay, I do have one of these, which is pretty helpful. This is like a little timer cube, and you turn it and
Right.
it sets different timers. So you can know like how long you're working on a specific task. I like to keep that out, and it does help me. Um, I do have, okay, so another thing that I like to go off of in my day, and this is old school, okay,
Yep.
I have a planner,
Yep.
and it's just an agenda, and then I write down like my daily tasks, what I plan to do, and then I kind of look ahead. I do have a little bit of I look at the calendar view too and just kind of get an idea of a
Yep.
high level of what I'm doing and then just make my notes. Like I knew we were having this call today, so today's the 8th. So yeah, I have them jotted down in there because I'm gonna forget. And you know what? What happens if anybody else out there is like me, we all have probably multiple email accounts, right? Like one that you send junk mail to, one that you send your priority emails to. Uh, and then people send, we all get different, like Zoom keeps track of the ones that are Zoom meetings, and I see those pop up on my Zoom, but then
Right.
some people are using the Gmail meetings, and so they kind of get a little bit messy. So I gotta make sure I go the old school way and write them
Oh, yeah.
down to
I am the same
where,
way. Yeah. But it's all about syncing it. You sync it with everything, right? So that you
yeah.
don't miss it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes like, if you don't click that add to calendar button, it's not going to get on the calendar. So if you
Right.
miss that step, and sometimes when you're multitasking and doing too much, so that's why I make sure I write it down, and I'm like, I look the day ahead and try to
Yeah.
use that as let me see what I have tomorrow.
Nothing beats writing it down, in my opinion, but a lot of people are very digital and that works for
Mhm.
them. But I'm
Well,
on that.
it's not necessary. So there is something new that I've adopted this year. It's not exactly scheduling in a sense that it's looking at my schedule, but I do have a digital 12-week planner that I got off of Etsy.
Uh-huh.
And it's very nice. It was like able to set up your goals. What are your tasks that help you get to those goals? And it's extremely simplified in a way that you could only set up three goals. So your goals that matter to you the most. And
Hmm.
then it checks the box and it's keeping track of what percentage you hit out of that goal for that week. And it's a 12. So it's pretty awesome, and I'm glad that I ended up getting it. I actually took that as a recommendation from somebody else I met on school,
Uh-huh.
and I said, "Oh, this is nice because you get the check the box moments. You see the thing move versus like the traditional planner. I can tick a box, but it's not
Right.
giving me a percentage of a goal that I'm hitting, which can be a
Right.
little bit more motivating."
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. I mean, I think it's in this day and age, it's great we get to work with both,
Hmm.
or the digital and the analog, depending on what really works for you. What are the ways that you collaborate and connect with people? Because as entrepreneurs, that's one of the biggest areas that I find. We deal a lot with isolation, and it's really important that we always are connecting, and actually that's going to be the group that I'm setting up in school. It's going to be a collaboration group. Tell me a little bit about that, how that works in your world.
Yeah. And I just want to say that this is something that is a key piece of advice that, especially when you're starting out as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
you need some kind of accountability buddy. And this
Yeah.
has helped me go such a long way. When I first started publishing books, I found somebody that was also at my level at the time. We both started around the same time. And that person, I have her on Facebook Messenger and I will check in with her and she occasionally checks in with me and we align our goals and we motivate each other. I say that if I didn't have her, I might have given up in the beginning when it was so much stuff to learn and figure out. And like, there's always hurdles, but
Yeah.
having somebody to help you dial back in and
Yeah.
motivate you really goes a long way. So connection is extremely important.
Yeah.
And for me, you may not be able to tell here on video, but I'm a pretty introverted type person. And this means that even in like my personal life, I keep my friend group pretty small. So for me, networking is something that I have to step outside of my comfort zone in a lot of cases to
Mhm.
attend certain events. Fortunately, I have found some really welcoming local women's networking groups and communities that I've become a part of, and I get invited to dinners and events, and they usually do a monthly thing. But it's so nice because a lot of them have been my early supporters and had
Mhm.
come over into my school community when I first kicked it off.
Mhm.
And so that kind of got the ball rolling for me. And
Mhm.
it's building up my confidence to actually step out and attend more events.
Mhm.
And so now, like, I am investing in myself and try to attend business conferences at least quarterly of some sort, like a bigger event that I want to get myself out to.
Mhm.
Because hearing these inspirational speakers and getting in a room of like-minded entrepreneurs that we share the same goal of like moving the needle and getting ahead and
Mhm.
just trying to grow ourselves as well as our business, like that connection has been so helpful. And now I think school is another great way to meet people. Like I got to meet you, Gail, on school.
Sure. Yeah.
And I don't know if a lot of people know this, and I don't know if your audience is a lot of people on school, but what I will say is something that a lot of people have been really moved by is school now offers something called School IRL, which is
Mhm.
local people connecting that are community owners as well as members. In their city. So, like, I'm part of the Chicago group. And now that
Wow.
I've connected with people locally, we keep it going and we try to like do a meetup monthly and we kick each other ideas within our communities. And that's what's really renewed my interest because before. I had no idea how you even got the flame on school. Like the school is a lot about gamification, which like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not as much into, but
Yeah.
then a guy I met at the IRL, he told me, "Oh, well you just have to be active, doing 10 activities a day for 30 days and then you get it." And I was like, "Okay, that's doable." And then like it just dialed it in for me, and that little tiny thing really helps your visibility so much, and you don't think anything of it. So you achieve that and doors start opening, which is
Yeah.
silly, but
Yeah.
that's the way it
Great
works.
advice. Well, networking and meeting people face to face and having conversations, it can open so many doors because you never know where it's going to go. And it's like we're having this conversation today. I never knew that about you. I mean, you
Yeah.
learn from people when you have these conversations. But one of the things I just want to go back to a little bit was the fact that you gave the advice of having an accountability partner. I couldn't say more about that for
Mhm.
entrepreneurs who are really wanting to get things done and achieve it, because we are so great at putting things off till tomorrow, or I'll get to that later, or it's just pushing yourself to actually make something happen. Is as an entrepreneur who works home alone, having that accountability partner can be gold, right?
Oh, absolutely. And I was fortunate that she was in the same niche as me. So, like, we were able to come up with innovative ideas, say, hey, try this. Let's try to do this. Let's try to co-author something. Like, we were able to collaborate as well as come up with these new ideas and techniques for marketing things,
Yeah,
to just keep each other going. But you don't have to have somebody exactly in your niche. As long as it's another online entrepreneur, for example, somebody else who's trying similar strategies, Facebook ads. Oh, my Facebook ads aren't working. Oh, neither is mine. Let's try to do this instead.
yeah,
Just things that you can bounce ideas off of somebody instead of having, sometimes I don't know if it's just the introvert in me, but like trying to ask these questions in a group, like I'm overthinking it way too much
yeah.
versus having somebody that you're comfortable with to
Yes,
share
yeah,
your wins and losses within your business is so much
exactly.
better.
And I love it that using Facebook Messenger um,
Hmm.
is really a great way to do it. You don't have to wait for emails back and forth. It's kind of like having that instant conversation, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, terrific. Okay, gosh, we're talking a lot about your business. We're talking a lot about how you work as an entrepreneur. Are there any other challenges that you see that you face as being an entrepreneur working from home?
Yeah, working from home is there's good things and then there's definitely some other bad things too. For example, you get home, you're used to your routine, right? So kind of it makes you feel like you want to go out more, but then you kind of, I don't know. I think like I get stuck in the mode where I don't want to go out because I'm so comfortable at being at home. And so I have to push myself to come out of this comfort zone and remind myself that every time that I'm uncomfortable doing something, that
Yeah,
means that you're growing in
yeah,
doing something and that something good is going to come out of it. So
yeah,
it is like I feel like even if you are working from home as an entrepreneur, it's just now changing that routine becomes difficult.
yeah.
So, to give you another example of that, this year, my job that I've been working remote for the last 4 years is enforcing return to office for everybody.
Oh dear.
And yeah, yeah, so it becomes really hard to now want to have to return to the office. So
Right.
it's just one of these things that it may seem hard to do, but I went to the office yesterday because I'm now in a hybrid role. And it wasn't like I think in our minds it feels worse than what it is until we actually just do it. And I think that's the advice is just give it a try, go out and do it. Overcome that anxiety that you have around it because it may not be that bad. It's just you cooking up something in your mind.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so, you talked a little bit about going to a lot of events and
Hmm.
things. And as entrepreneurs, we always need, and we love professional development, right? We love to learn more.
Yeah.
That's why we're entrepreneurs, Do you have any suggestions? You talked a little bit earlier about Alex Hormozy. Do you have any other suggestions for entrepreneurs as far as books or podcasts?
Okay, yes, I've got a good one for you, and I got kind of two actually. So, what really got me on this mission to become a creator and teach people how to do the book publishing, because like I said, I was completely happy just publishing books, but when people start asking me, hey, I want to learn how to do this too. I was actually at she's a professional author and speaker, Jen Gottlieb. She was running her own events. I was at one of her events, and she did a session that is kind of like where she allowed, it was a smaller group, and she allowed people to get up on the stage and share, a 60-second who you are and what you do. And that's when I had a lot of people approach me because they thought this was really fascinating. And that's what sparked my idea of, okay, let me get in there and try to figure out how to make the courses and do this side of the business to expand who I am and what I'm doing and start to grow a personal brand. So Jen Gottlieb, she is like the go-to person for this kind of stuff and growing a personal brand. And she has a book called Be Seen. And I'm actually using her book as like my theme this year because I'm coming out of the comfort zone of just being behind the scenes doing things. And I'm trying to get on a few more podcasts and stuff. Like this wasn't something that I would normally be requesting or trying to do.
Right.
It's motivating me because she also says how she's an introvert and she has these hacks to come out of your comfort zone a little bit and then later recharge. But like the benefits that come from these things are so much more. But it's not just about like, talking about yourself and elevating yourself. It's helping the other people out. And she has this motto. Um, called Hope that she shares, and it's in her book, it's in her podcast, it's in all of her messaging. And Hope stands for help one person every day. And
Yeah.
so whether that's reaching out to somebody and saying, "Hey, is there something I can help you with?" or just going out and maybe writing a testimonial about somebody that you're following or making a recommendation in one of the school groups. If somebody's asking for a recommendation, recommend another group that you follow you're getting value out of, right? And so you want to elevate the people that are within your circle so you can help them do what they're doing. So I think she is a really great person, online influencer, author, professional speaker. If you ever get a chance to read her book or
Oh,
check out her content,
yes,
it's great.
absolutely. Yes, I have a series that I have called Read Along with Entrepreneurs, so I'll definitely get that'll it'll definitely be on my TBR list.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said there was someone else?
Yeah, so there was there was one more. There's okay, so I decided in 2025 that I was going to invest in myself more. So one of the coaches that I hired is James Wedmore,
Mhm.
and he has a podcast called Mind Your Business. It's a really great podcast to listen to. And as part of his group, I recently went to one of his brand events, which it was an amazing 3-day experience. It was a lot, it was intense, but there was so many great people that I got to connect with, and he put us in some small groups, and I got, a WhatsApp channel now of other entrepreneurs that are kind of at my level or, we're all different stages and going through this. So again, just whoever, you find that you connect with,
Right.
it's great to have these, but then also meet people in these events, in these live events, because, the connection is stronger that way.
Yeah, yeah. That's great advice. That's great
Yeah.
advice. I'm sure others will be very interested in that as well.
hmm
Okay, so now share more about your business and who you serve and where people can connect with you and, any of the other free resources that you offer as well.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm helping a combination of people. So if you are somebody who wants to earn passive income, Like that's how I got started. That was my journey. I needed a little bit of extra income to support my child and my family, and I went the book publishing route. But what I've learned is you can't just put a book out there and hope that it's going to sell. You have to use strategy, especially if you don't already have an audience that you can position and sell your book to, unless you have a lot of funds that you want to try to do ads and marketing and go down that rabbit hole of doing that.
Mm.
The other group of people that I serve is business owners because they're sometimes they don't see a book as something that's possible for them. And I think that's a mindset that they have to get over. Like, I'm too busy to write a book is a common objection, which I understand wholeheartedly. Like, there is a lot of things that go into writing a book, but what I break that down is you actually don't have to write it either. Is I leverage ghostwriters when I write. I'm actually an ideas person. I find the ideas. I make the thorough outlines. I look at research. I look at other book reviews within, the topic that I'm trying to write on, and I find opportunity areas. What are people saying they would have liked to see in the book? What are the pain points that that audience has? And I
Mm.
get all of this information into an outline that I then pass off to a ghostwriter. So I don't have to put a ton of time and attention. And I think that that's what sometimes entrepreneurs don't see is that as a possibility that you can do that. And if people feel like that's cheating, it's to me, in my opinion, it is not cheating because there's still you're putting together your frameworks, your methodologies, your information, how you run your programs. It's all your ideas. You're just leveraging somebody else who's a creative writer who can get that down on paper faster,
Right.
without your process. So, like, I'm helping business owners realize that this is an option because some of them don't even know that this is an option,
Mm.
right? And this is another doorway. You can certainly write yourself if you have the time and the creative skills to do that. But then
Mm.
once you put the book out, that's instantly going to elevate your authority, your presence,
Yeah.
get you more leads. So to me, it's smart to have on your roadmap
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur as something as one of your steps that you want to have outside of just having a funnel or an online course.
Right. Yeah. It's amazing. If more people should be understanding how this is so valuable, more
hmm
entrepreneurs should understand how valuable this is for a business. So how do people connect with you? What's the best way to connect with you?
So my school community is definitely a great place to come in and join,
Yeah.
because I do have a great mini course in there. If you're thinking about writing a book, you don't know where to start, and you want to get some ideas, my mini course is called Future Author Energy. And
Uh-huh.
it kind of helps you get clear by just short, actionable videos that you watch. They're like 3 to 5 minutes, and then you do a couple of takeaways, and that is going to help you get more clarity on what kind of topic you want to write about, who do you want to serve, what your audience pain points are. So the school community is really where you're going to connect with the other authors and future authors within that community, if you want to get the ball rolling with how to do that. Otherwise, check out my bio link. I think Gail's going to drop that in the description as well, as to where you can find me, social media, things like that, if you just want to follow along.
We'll definitely be putting all of that in the description below as well.
hmm
Krista, this has just been so interesting, and I know that I'm going to be following up with you myself. A book is always in your head, right? It's so a lot of people think,
Yeah.
oh, that'd be a great book, or
Yeah.
they have some little area of expertise that really would be helpful for others, and it can really help your business if you can create a book about it.
hmm
Oh, what you have shared today is going to be so valuable. And I want to thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much, Gail. I really appreciate you.
Wow, are you feeling inspired to start writing your book? I know this interview has definitely got the wheels turning for me. Now, as usual, I want to share my 3 gems of wisdom from this conversation with Krista. So, first, I loved how Krista talked about adding QR codes inside your book so readers can easily connect with you. This simple strategy can really open so many doors. How many books have you read that's had these QR codes in that you love because it connects you immediately? And also, as she says, it immediately elevates your authority. And I was especially struck by her example that she shared with us of her client who wrote about funnels and how she could end up having a high-ticket client directly from her book. That's pretty powerful. And the second gem was, I hope you caught her key advice, because she actually says that in the interview, about accountability. Krista shared how having an accountability partner, a buddy, someone maybe in the same niche, that just made a huge difference for her, and how they stayed connected through Facebook Messenger, how they aligned their goals and motivated each other along the way. That is amazing. And I know for myself, having an accountability partner has always been extremely beneficial. But she was really honest when she was saying that without that support, she might have given up early on. So it's such a good reminder how important connection is when you're building something new. And the third gem of wisdom was when Krista spoke so clearly about how valuable a book can be for your business. She says many entrepreneurs just don't think writing a book is possible for them. And I know I had the same thoughts, but she reminds us that this is often a mindset issue. This is where she comes in. She's going to teach you how to break the process down, how to leverage ghostwriters, how to do the right research and identify the real opportunities. And most importantly, she's going to help you understand what people actually want and what their pain points are, so that you could just have this wonderful outline of your ideas, and then you can confidently pass it off for support. So once your book is out there, she says, it elevates your authority, your presence, and your credibility in such a powerful way. And I so agree with her. I think this whole interview was really brilliant, and I hope you liked it too. Now, be sure to check out Krista's school group. I'm a member in there. It's called KDP Publishing. The link, along with all her other resources links, are in the description below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more interviews coming up, and I'll see you on the next episode.